Hello team, welcome to another ATP Geopolitics video with myself, Jonathan M.S. Pierce. This is a Ukraine war news update, the first part thereof for the 31st of July 2025. Sorry there's a lot of background noise, so I'll try and be quick. I am in an airport, just having had my breakfast at the airport, so apologies that there is noise around. We're going to start with the Ukrainian general staff figures for the Russian losses for the day before, all the usual caveats apply, of course. 1,070 personnel lost, that's up a little bit from yesterday, considerably actually. It was 870 yesterday, now up to 1,070. We've got one tank, one troop carrying AFVs, 16 artillery systems. All of those are below the daily average. The first two categories there, tanks and AFVs, considerably below. One anti-aircraft warfare system, not sure what that one is. 68 vehicles and fuel tanks. I don't know if I've got an Andrew Perpetual loss list. I think there is one up there on Twitter from yesterday. And that showed, I think, quite a lot of Ukrainian losses, if I remember correctly. I'm sure Pierre was showing me that. So we'll see if he's got something. I should have had this prepared, but forgot about that. Just going back. Yeah, here we go. So let's have a look at the losses. And actually, quite a few Russian losses. But when we go into Ukrainian losses, you can see there's one hell of a lot. Okay, but a lot of these are the pink losses at the top. The comms equipment, their Starlinks and whatnot. So I wouldn't be too worried about a lot of that. We do have some electronic warfare, quite a few UGVs, a couple of engineering vehicles, some artillery there. That's artillery systems. RAC SA-12, we talked about them the other day. Some APCs, normal variety, and quite a lot of mobility vehicles. And as Pierre was saying to me yesterday, this looks like the sort of loss list you'd see if the Ukrainians were attacking. So I don't know what that means. I don't know whether the Ukrainians are just attacking in certain places, but this is what they're losing maybe up in the Sumy area where they're counter-attacking there. I don't know where these losses are coming from, or it could be that the Russians have a further reach with their drones. They do have, I think, quite a lot of drone prevalence along the front line now. There's more parity, I think, in the skies to some degree. So the Ukraine is losing a lot of combat assets, quite a few civilian vehicles as well, but this does look like offensive losses, and I find that quite interesting. We're going to go on and look at the Russian losses just very quickly indeed. Here we have some artillery pieces as well, some old D-30s, a few tanks, T-72s, one captured, and 3 damaged. Then we have a couple of mobility vehicles, but really not much else. And then mainly trucks, ATVs, a lot of motorcycles and quads, and civilian vehicles. So actually, yeah, I think that's obviously a much worse day for the Ukrainians. But what does that tell us? Does it mean that the Russians are more successful in the battles that are going on, or does it give us a flavour of the Ukrainians attacking in some places? That's what you'd normally see if you had that. But yeah, I don't know. Anyway, we're going to move on from the loss list. Just go back to the original Ukrainian general staff figures. 68 vehicles and fuel tanks is way down on what we have seen. It's a story of some massive attacks on Kiev with Shaheds last night. That's the main story. Ukraine might have been quite busy as well, but we don't hear as much detail of what the Ukrainians do these days. A bit of a Russia on fire. We haven't had that for ages. Hashtag Russia on fire. Here we have Kubinka in Moscow region. A bus stop is on fire there. But I don't know if that's got anything to do with the war whatsoever. Now, I've included this video because it's, I think, the first use that I've seen in combat potentially of a drone carrying grenade launchers and firing them at Russian troops. And although the internet at the moment is not too good here, so it's getting stuck, but actually it does blow some people up by the looks of it. Bulava unit, the separate presidential brigade, has demonstrated the first use of a drone equipped with a grenade launcher against Russian assault troops. So that's quite significant, I think. And then we're going to go on to Andrew Perpetual with a thread here saying, Russia is using chemical weapons. First, I give a summary, then the full text. Security Services of Ukraine, SBU, has documented over 10,000 instances of Russia using banned chemical weapons, including toxic grenades and chloropicrin. or Pisrin, against Ukrainian forces since the full-scale invasion began. These attacks, primarily delivered by FPV drones, cause severe respiratory and ocular damage, so it's breathing in the eyes, aiming to flush soldiers from cover. The SBU is working with international bodies like the OPCW, whose reports confirm Russia's systematic chemical warfare. This has led to the EU to sanction key Russian military units and research centers. Ukrainian authorities are pursuing war crime charges against senior Russian officials, including General Igor Kirillov. And then there's a full text below. But I think just worth reminding ourselves that who the bad guys are in this war more overtly, and they are the Russians with the sorts of things that they do. Now, last night, 317 drones and missiles were sent into Ukraine. They shot down 288 drones and 3 missiles. So 288 out of 309 strike drones were shot down. 3 out of 8 Iskander-K cruise missiles. A direct hit of 5 missiles and 21 drones. That's not too bad considering the number of drones sent in 12 locations. So it was particularly hellish in capital. It says, as well as a fall of down debris in 19 locations, but almost all of those locations were in the capital. And we'll see from here, what it looked like. And this is the map with an incredible concentration of drones on Kiev. Yep, a few over to the west as well. The east, just northeast of, I don't know where that is actually, northeast of Dnipro. So quite a few around that area, but a huge amount in Kiev. Really hammered with an awful lot last night, so it's pretty horrific there. Lots of imagery coming out. Someone here saying it's now confirmed Russians are mixing in domestically produced jet engine Grand 3 Shahed. So they've upgraded our Shaheds and they are using them with jet engines. He says there's a lot of them. My entire neighborhood is on fire. So that's a first-hand claim there of jet drones being used into Kiev. Adam Kinzinger said last night, Russia intentionally kills civilians. Russia is evil. Russia is a terrorist state. Here we have imagery that came out last night of a apartment block being hit. These are civilian. This is civilian infrastructure being absolutely hammered by drones and missiles and whatnot. Just really horrific yet again. And although I'm going to sort of rush through it, it is worth lingering if you have a chance on the horrific stuff that took place. Death toll in Kiev has risen to 6 people, 4 of them in the Sviatoshnisky district, 2 in Solomyansky. Among the dead is a child, a 6-year-old boy, and that is a civilian building absolutely hammered. And that is what they are doing, sadly enough. The Russians just really destroying or trying to terrorize the Ukrainians in Kiev into fleeing, giving up hope. Russia unleashed a massive drone and missile strike on Ukraine overnight, says the Euromaidan press, targeting Kiev and other cities. Almost at least 6 people killed, including 6-year-old, as heard, and over 50 have been injured. The assault struck 27 locations across 4 districts, leaving many trapped under the rubble. And I believe that there are still 10 missing. There are currently about 10 people reported missing in Kiev. There's a lot of building and a lot of rubble still to work through there. Really terrible images coming from Kiev, and testament to the heinous activity, really, of the Russians there. So a father clutching his child, sprinting for shelter. 2 elderly persons doubled over in grief on a shattered Kiev street. This is Russia's war on civilians, deliberate, relentless, and criminal. Homes reduced to rubble, lives erased in seconds. It is terror, not war. And that's coming from the Euromaidan press. And there we have just an awful, awful set of images of people grieving after losing loved ones. It's just terrible stuff. Massive drone attack. Ukraine reportedly hits Kyiv. So supposedly Ukraine launched a massive drone attack, but we don't really have the details of it. This is fairly typical at the moment, but in a massive drone attack, Ukraine reportedly hits key Russian industrial energy sites in Penza in Volgograd. One of the main targets was a radio factory in the western city of Penza, which produces advanced communication systems for the Russian armed forces, according to Andrei Kovalenko, head of Ukraine's Center for Countering Disinformation. So some details on that. Drones attacked the JSE Radio Zavod in Penza, main areas of military products, mobile control post, PU-12MX and PU-12M7 used in the tactical level of air defense of ground forces. Bit of a mixed up sentence there, but you get the point. And that's still smoking in the morning today. Was hit last night, I believe. But yeah, so damage has been done in Penza. You can see the imagery there. We also hear that in Volgograd, there's been an attack on Kotelnikovo railway station and substation. This is typical for what we've seen over the last week or so, with the Ukrainians really targeting Russia's railway infrastructure. And that has happened again overnight. Firm's data supports that as well. Ukraine has struck Kotelnikovo train station, says N-Strike. NASA satellite imagery shows multiple thermal signatures of fires in the area of the station. This is part of a broader campaign aimed at disrupting railway infrastructure alongside strategic Volgograd-Kotelnikovo line, which is used both by Russia's military-industrial complex and for transporting supplies for the Russian armed forces. Additionally, in Penza, one of the industrial facilities was attacked. However, there was no confirmed information yet regarding the exact location or extent of the damage. And talking about the trend of striking Russian railway logistics, this is what happened in Salsk after the strikes there the other night. And you can see the destruction to the tracks and to some of these railway carriages. There was quite a lot of fire as those oil carriages or fuel carriages were burning. But of course, I don't think it takes too much to fix the tracks. So actually, you can probably, as you can see already, they just have ready-made bits of railway to just lift off the broken bits and put in the new bits. And it's surprising and annoying, I guess, if you're looking at that, how quickly these tracks can be fixed. So that's why you need to do more lasting damage. Some of the other infrastructure, signals, housing, bridges are obviously going to be particularly useful because they're much more difficult to fix. Right, moving on to other bits and pieces. We're now going to go to the SBU detaining another Russian rat in the Ukrainian Air Force. He was preparing attacks by the Russians on airfields where F-16s and Mirage 2000s are based. He turned out to be an instructor pilot, a major in one of the air brigades. That's absolutely horrific. The unit in which this person served performs combat missions to shoot down enemy missiles and drones, and also practices on ground targets, supporting the operations of Army from the air. The enemy's priority targets were the airfields where the F-16, Mirage 2000 and Su-24 aircraft was based. What a shame that actually they've got an infiltration into the heart of the Ukrainian armed forces there. I'm just going to see if there's anything else to add of the strikes, actually, before I go on too much. Ukraine's attacked an electronics factory. I've talked about that. This is what Benny Pie has sorted out for me on my website. See if there are other images that are worth talking about. Zelensky here saying, Kiev missile strike directly into a residential building, people under the rubble. All services are on site. Russia are terrorists. Since last night, our rescuers, firefighters, medics, and all necessary services have been working at the sites of Russian missile and drone strikes in Dnipro, Poltava, Sumy, Mykolaiv, and Kiev regions have suffered. Capital was a main target of massive shelling. So here you can see lots of imagery there. I'll keep this linked in the description as well, so you can go and check out all the data. If I don't get a chance to talk about this, it'll be linked in the data, atpgeo.com/JP. You got Vitaly Klitschko, the mayor of Kiev, also talking about the drone attack on Kiev last night, and including his own sort of videos there. So you can go and check out what Klitschko has to say. And then I'm just going to throw in some more images of Kiev here. And there's actually an impact video as well, video of the impact. So some of these images really showing the extent of the damage that was done to Kyiv by the attack last night. Anyway, we're going to move back to other bits and pieces, and I'm going to go to Max 25, talking about the Russian economy. The deficit of the Russian federal budget for the first half of 2025 amounted to $47 billion. This is 5 times higher than the figures for the same period last year, which indicates significant financial problems of the aggressor. So the Russians really are in serious financial economic difficulty. Evgeny Istrubin says the Russian Ministry of Finance continues to increase the national debt at breakneck speed. Today, bonds worth 216 billion rubles were sold. Since the beginning of the volume of bonds in circulation has grown by 2.8 trillion rubles. And here we have the growth of the OFZ in circulation since the beginning of the year. Cumulative total there, 2025 is the red line. That's what you want to be looking at, and it's way above what we've seen previously. Domestic debt has grown by 13% in 7 months, from 23 to 26 trillion rubles, and all this is against a backdrop of virtually zero GDP growth. Yesterday, the IMF lowered its estimate of Russia's GDP growth in 2025 from 1.5 to 0.9%. In the absence of GDP growth, the growth of public debt will lead to financial bankruptcy. Already now 3/4 of the funds raised go to paying off interest on the public debt. So really not a good look for Russia at the moment. Okay, just on to the last couple of bits, and this is fascinating. So Donald Trump is going to war, arguably, with Dmitry Medvedev, the former Russian president. And I'm here for it. What you want, what we want, what supporters of Ukraine want is for Trump to support Ukraine as much as possible. It's going to be much more likely if he's going to town against the Russian leaders, and he's doing it, and it is good to see. So on Truth Social, he says, I don't care what India does with Russia. They can take their dead economies down together for all I care. We've done very little business with India. Their tariffs are too high, among the highest in the world. Likewise, Russia and the USA do almost no business together. Let's keep it that way and tell Medvedev. So it's interesting. So before we were worrying about him wanting to do minerals deals in Russia and get normalized relationships in order to take advantage of a trade relationship, well, now he's saying the opposite. It's like, let's keep it that way, that we don't do any business with them. That's what I want to hear. And tell Medvedev, the failed former president of Russia, who thinks he's still president, to watch his words. He's entering very dangerous territory. Wow, that is exactly what you want to hear. And Medvedev, who has got very belligerent language, has been saying all sorts of pretty controversial things. Finally, what he's saying is being picked up by the president. Medvedev has now then said about Trump's threats against me in his personal network Truth, which he banned from operating in our country. If some words of the former Russian president cause such a nervous reaction in the entire formidable US president, it means that Russia is right in everything and will continue to go its own way. As for the dead economy of India and Russia and entering dangerous territory, well, let him remember his favorite films about the Walking Dead, and also how dangerous a dead hand that doesn't exist in nature can be. Laughing emoji. That's a public spat between the two. And that's only going to, drive a wedge into a crack that already exists between the US. I mean, there used to be a chasm. Trump closed that chasm to a crack, and now they are driving a wedge into that crack to turn it back into a more of a crevice. And that's what we want to see. We don't want the US trying to normalize relationships with Russia and to normalize moral abhorrence and the invasion of sovereign nations. We don't want to normalize that. We want that to be punished. We want Russia to suffer for what they have done. And that's how they learn. US Senate eyes up, the last thing I'll say, an $8 billion in Ukraine arms supplies a year in Allied funded scheme, according to the Wall Street Journal. So it looks like that they're really going to double down on selling arms to Europe to support Ukraine, and as long as that helps Ukraine, then I'm here for it. It's not as good as the US. I mean, I'd like to see both, and Europe buying from the US, but the US providing for Ukraine as well. And it's sad that they are just going down purely the sales route there. But anyway, really appreciate Benny Pie for helping out with some of this data. And that's enough from me today. It's a shorter one. Sorry, the sound is absolutely awful for you guys. But c'est la vie, as they say. I really appreciate your support. Take care, and I'll speak to you from the other side, from wherever I'm going. I think it's Timbuktu, somewhere like that. Toodle pips, all the best.